Welcome to Module 12. We're in Chapter 10 now, so please open your book to page 195. And we're in the chapter called the Process Analysis Essay, Chapter 10, and the topic of the chapter is Success. Let's talk about the goals for this chapter. For writing, it's to plan, organize, and write a process analysis essay. And then there's two types of process analysis essays, and that's distinguishing between the directional and the informational process. You'll be picking one of those and writing about one of those processes. And then to divide a process analysis essay into paragraphs, into three separate body paragraphs. So three specific steps. And then to write a dramatic introduction. This is a different kind of introduction from the last two that we've learned about. The funnel and the turnabout introduction. And then to use participial phrases to increase coherence in the paragraphs that you're going to write. And then of course there's reading. We're going to learn about and discuss success and problem solving, and then to identify the steps in a process analysis essay. Of course, there's going to be vocabulary and grammar. So on page 196, it's very interesting. At the top of page 196, the first section here is about responding to an image, even though we're not going to do this exercise or write about it. This is the steps. These are the steps in the scientific process of forming a hypothesis and doing testing and then coming to a result. And the journal writing at the bottom of the page is the exercise that we're going to do, and you can see that I've asked you to just pick one of the questions there about the topic of success and to write a short paragraph about it. Your second exercise is on page 197 to 200, and you'll be reading ways to change a habit. Again, this is a process. How can you change a habit in your life? What are the steps to being successful, to changing for a good habit? And then I've asked you on page 200 to answer questions 1 through 6 under comprehension, and so you'll just refer to the article there. And then reading 2. Starting on page 201, you'll be just doing questions 1 through 7 for comprehension again. Over on page 203, this reading 2 is about the environmental transformation of Chattanooga, Tennessee. This is a place that I used to go to. It was very close to Atlanta, Georgia, and it was very, very dirty when I used to drive up there, and it has actually completely changed, and now it's a very, very nice area with clean air. And this article is about how that change happened. What were the steps in the process of environmental change? And then over on page 203, you've also got the vocabulary exercises, so building vocabulary, differentiating multiple meanings of a word. Many words have much more than one meaning, and so page 204, exercise 1, that's your first vocabulary exercise, and I've opened up 12 blanks for you, and just expect you to put in A, B, or C for each one of those. And page 205, exercise 2 is word partners. You've done that before, and you just simply fill in the blank there with one of the word partnerships at the top of the page. On page 206, this is where we start talking about writing the process analysis essay, and if you look at the top of page 206, you can see in the boldface that there's the directional process, which it explains how to do something by clarifying the steps in the procedure so that a reader can recreate the steps and the results. And in exercise 3, we're going to talk about how to get the best scrambled eggs. How can you cook scrambled eggs? What is the process? How can you recreate it? And then the second way is an informational process in an essay. And this is an essay that explains or analyzes a specific process, and it tells how something works or how something happened or how something is or was done so that the reader can just understand the process. He or she does not necessarily expect to be able to recreate it. You don't have to do it with your hands. So on page 206, these are the 7 different steps here for planning your process analysis essay. To be aware of the audience. Who are you writing to? Are you writing to people that already know something, for example, about cooking? Or do you have to explain all the tools for cooking, for example? So number 2 is to order steps chronologically. That's by time. What happens first, what happens second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on. And then to make sure that the process is complete, that you have all the steps, you don't leave any out, especially for a directional process. If somebody else has to recreate the process of doing something, for example, repairing the engine in a car, if you missed one of the steps, you wouldn't be able to fix the car. So number 4 is to define any new or unfamiliar terms. Everybody, unless you're an auto mechanic, you may not know every single part of an engine in a car, the motor in a car, and so you would have to identify exactly what the names of those parts are, for example. And then number 5 is to warn your reader of any difficulties in the process. Are there any things that, any warnings that you need to give your reader? If they do these, it's going to mess up the process, or the process will break down. And then number 6 is to explain the purpose of a step when necessary. You may think, wow, why do I have to do that step? Well, a good process analysis essay is going to explain a step that may be unclear to your audience, your readers, that may have never done it before and need to know why they're doing something. And then number 7 is to make your thesis statement persuasive. You want to make sure that the steps in the process are going to be successful, and you want to persuade your reader to try your process and that it's going to be successful in the end. And on page 207, they give an example of a process of getting a driver's license, and they have the major steps in the process, the 5 steps of going to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and then taking a vision test, and then a written test, and then taking a driving test, and then finally paying the fee for your license. But there's many little steps in between those, and that's why they have the 12 steps at the bottom of page 207. So you can take major steps and then supply all of the minor steps. So if you, in your essay, if you give the 3 major steps in the process, then you're going to explain the minor steps within those major steps, and that's how you'll be writing your essay. on page 208, I'm just asking you to pick number 3 at the bottom, and I've supplied all of the steps for making scrambled eggs. And then I've added a number of extra steps in the process, and I would just like you to tell me which one happens. Well, I've told you which one happens first, but you need to find second, third, fourth, all the way through 10th, and I've given you K as the last step already. So I've done 2 of them for you. You do the other, I've done 2 and you do the other 10. And you need to think about how they are ordered logically, right? You're not going to put your eggs in the pan before you stir them up in a bowl. So you have to make sure that the steps are in logical order. And the next exercise is exercise 6 on page 210. And what you're doing here, I'm going to ask you, you're jumping ahead a little bit to go to page 218 and to pick one of the topics up there, 1 through 4, on page 218. Writing an essay to explain how to prepare or eat one of your favorite foods, explain how to repair something, how a hobby or a sport that you can enjoy and you know well, and how to prepare to participate in this activity. For example, playing a musical instrument, or for example, shooting baskets for basketball, or shooting goals for soccer. There are specific things that you would have to train for. Or number 4, recall a time that you solved a problem, a specific problem, right? Having a difficult roommate, and how did you solve the problem of getting along with that roommate, or a colleague at work, right? Or just keeping your desk neat, either at work or at school. So you want to pick a problem and then analyze the steps to solve that specific problem. And so if you go back to page 210, I've asked you to do step number 1, to brainstorm a list of topics. Just type out all the steps that you can think of and number them. I've already got numbers here from 1 to 12. You can have less steps, you can have more steps, but to think through all the steps necessary for the question that you're choosing. And then if you have someone to talk to about the process that you've picked, you can talk to them about it and help them think, or they can help you think through any other extra process steps in the process, or any words that might need to be defined, any warnings that you might need to give. Remember that you need to put in definitions of keywords that not everybody might understand, or warnings, just in case a person doesn't really understand, that you would give a warning about not to do something in the process, or it's going to cause it to break down or stop. And then also to give reasons, because anybody that is doing something wants to know why they may do a step if it's not obvious. Then number 3 is to go back over the revised list and then add again those definitions or unfamiliar terms or warnings or difficulties you might have in the process. And number 4 is to formulate a thesis statement that can contain a central idea about the process that you're describing. So this is your Module 12, and it does not have an essay in it, but I would like to remind you that you need to resubmit Module 9 and 11 if you haven't, to Hamid Hamidi, and have him look at your outline first, and then to write your essays from that specific outline, and then give him or send him your essay after you've done an outline, and it's a successful outline. It will help you very clearly write your essays. Some of you want to write the essay first and then try to squeeze all of your ideas into an outline form. That doesn't work very well. But if you plan first, and then you understand your plan, and your plan is balanced, has three parallel topic sentences, and then two good parallel examples, balanced examples, you're going to have a balanced essay. So, again, if you have any questions about this homework or about submitting essays, please contact me either by Facebook chat, or just sending me an email on Facebook, or sending it to my Google Mail. I'll see you in Module 13.